Hey, what's up guys, it's Oakley and we are playing Napoleon Total War. This is one of my favorite Total War games. It's going to be a 2v2 here. I do love Napoleon because it plays out very much like a chess match. Also the glory of infantry battalions moving up and exchanging just rolls of, gunfire coming down the line, smoke billowing, the effects, everything just is so great in Napoleon. I really enjoy it. So the battle that's taking place here is going to be a 2v2. I lead Portugal on the left flank. My ally is going to be Great Britain over on the right flank. And we were actually deployed starting off with pretty good positioning with the hills and cliffs there. Also a city at our backs. So essentially we seem to have the advantage. Rules of the engagement here set by the host where no rocket artillery, no unicorns or anything like that, and that's usually something that people get rid of because they think it's kind of a cheap artillery piece. So with that being said, we could have very well camped our side, but instead me and my ally are going to do the noble, honorable thing and push forward. So like I said, Portugal on the left, commanded by myself. Mike is going to be leading the Great Britain forces on the right flank. I'm facing off against France, and France did bring a single artillery piece, this 6-pounder that positioned itself right up here. What I decided to do is charge ballsy with my cavalry right there. I was hoping the enemy wouldn't be able to get a volley off, but just at the last moment, boom, they get volleys, and you can see how that shredded my cavalry a couple seconds sooner and I would have destroyed him. Nonetheless, he does get the drop on me in that engagement and does win out, but it was a worthy attempt, I thought. And the reason I was able to get away with that is because in Napoleon you really have to look at the terrain. I noticed that there was a little bit of a cover given to me by the hill, so I charged through the hill. Some of his infantry here did get shots off against my cavalry. So what I decided to do is while he's reloading after having shot at my cavalry, I moved up with my own cazadores here, skirmishers. And now they're going to be exchanging preferentially against his chasseurs. That's always what you want to do. The opening engagements in each match can be determining. So up on the hill, Theodore, here, extreme range units sniping away at my enemy force, and then I'm bringing some militia super close. These guys don't do well in prolonged engagements, but against skirmishers, if they're caught reloading, might as well pop in with the militia, get some volleys, and then retreat. You can see his line infantry wants to come in and engage. The second he does that, I pull out, so I got a free shot with only one loss. Meanwhile over here, I'm 2v1ing the chasseurs, trying to dispatch them quickly with tons of units. What you also want to note is the positioning that I'm using for my forces. I did not move up over the crest of the hill. That would expose me to too many of his forces, and so what I've done is I've positioned myself a bit on the downside of this hill such that I can 2v1 his force and have cover from any of his other troops on the right, ensuring that I can finish up his forces. Now, the one big problem I have is the artillery that's still alive. Had I knocked that out, it would have been in an even more secure position, but right now he's getting flanking blows into my guys, and it's starting to do some damage. Meanwhile, the right flank, not much is happening. My ally is moving forward and taking over the houses. I know that this is an artillery piece that I have to take out, so what am I doing to respond? Well, I've pulled up with some forces, a militia unit, and a Theodore. So his grenadiers of the line are pushing forward, and now they get a full volley straight into their flank. So that's what I like about Napoleon, is the punishing nature of mismanaging your troops. Had this been in something like Total War Warhammer, even Rome 2, there's nothing that can deal that much damage in so little time. And so in Napoleon, and to that extent Shogun, you're really punished for mismicroing and mismanaging your troops, which adds a lot more to the strategic ability. I figured I didn't need to engage with his grenadiers of the line, so I attempted to pull out, but units in Napoleon can be sticky. What I wanted to do is disengage from the position, because grenadiers of the line have much better stats than me, and fall back to my units. You can see I pulled back these cazadores into a position such that they're covered on the right, and they can fire away at the enemy grenadiers. So that's part of the thinking of how to be cost effective. This force, I pulled them back without taking too many losses, and then I destroy these grenadiers of the line by falling back to the support of my units. The enemy is he's got some troops back, but they are missing in action largely, and using the hill again, they have no way to punish me, so I'm using my troops very, very well. He is trying to get a little bit of a shot off on my militia. He wants his vengeance on those forces. But he's not going to get away with too much in that engagement. So all I have to do is pull back with my militia, and we're good to go. Seen from the far right side, my cazadores pull back, my militia pull back. I don't need to take that engagement. What I do is I have my tiradores here just fire away easily at his valuable young guard. I wait for his shots on his Voltigales and his Fusilier of the Line to get off, and now I know he's caught reloading. And that's another thing about Napoleon that makes it so great, is the pacing. You have those brief windows of opportunity that happen when the enemy is reloading, and that's exactly what you have to exploit. So just as his unit is reloading, I move in troops. I calculate in my head how soon he's going to be able to fire, how quickly I can get my troops up, and now my militia is able to unload. And just as his guys are here mostly shooting at the hill and caught reloading, I move up with a fresh batch, and now I can watch as they're going to start to unload point blank on his guys. That's going pretty well. So lots of numbers here. So slowly I'm just chipping away at his front lines. On the right flank, I noticed that my opponent is a bit drawn out. He does have the cover of his artillery, but nothing really in the way of skirmishers. So I'm slowly preparing for an assault, pulling up with some infantry, some Portuguese cavalry, and two cazadores. Two cazadores can shred anything. So what I'm going to do is move them really up close to his force. Oh, sorry, my phone's going off right now. But yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move forward, and I'm going to try and engage with his Fusiliers of the Line. And so from the enemy's perspective here, oh boy, yes, they get the first volley off, but it is calculated in my mind that, yeah, look at these first volleys he gets, but now look at what he's going to get in return. So he killed 11 of my guys, and look how many guys I kill in return with one volley. Then I also know that his units here are going to start firing at my skirmishers, or at least that was the plan, and then my cavalry would be able to chase down this unit while his other infantry force is tied up. So cavalry is going to force his lines back, force disarray. His units in the back here in support are going to form up into square, and that is immediately going to signal to me that, hey, I need to move up forces. Anytime your enemy forces up into square, again, always think about how you can punish such action. So he's in square, that means he can't take, he can't really punish me for moving up, and so I'm going to close in for an engagement. Two squares up in the front, main line is getting shredded here, the artillery is soon going to be vulnerable, and up through the front, again, a lot of push and pull, using the hill to control my enemy's line of fire, and then I actually have my ally rolling in on the far right flank, slowly with his redcoats pushing up to help support. So we're getting a lot of nice engagements up through the front. In the forest, I think these are Old Guard. No, Fusilier of the Line, Voltigale, and Old Guard in the center. Yeah, so he is not holding up well. This unit here, I mean, it was destroyed down to 40 men. How many did he kill? Okay, about 26 of my guys. But I traded very cost effectively, and now the artillery is susceptible to my assault. I have another cavalry unit that's charging in. Probably not the best move to charge it at the enemy when it got a volley off, but still, hitting Great Guard out of square is very, very good. So I'm going to be able to tie them down, force them away. Again, I want to suppress these guys as much as possible, because it means that this engagement is going to go my way that much quicker. My cavalry, yes, gets destroyed, so I lost 2 cavalry units, but I exchanged pretty well with his Great Guard. They're down to, you know, they lost 60 men there. And then now they're caught out of formation, out of position. Timed it perfectly with an infantry formation moving up. And just as his troops start to form up, we'll watch a volley come in for my guys. Yep, there you have it. It's a combination of strategic thinking, pacing, aggressive action. That is what makes Napoleon Napoleon. Back to the main front over here. His guys have held out for an incredible amount of time. I'm very surprised, but I decide that I need to put an end to it, so I'm going to move up very, very close. Militia always are going to be used as fodder units, so I'm moving them up here, just absorbing fire from his Fusiliers. And again, don't throw your guys away needlessly. Use them for something. So the purpose of those units was to give cover for my unit, my 2 line infantry to start moving up, and they're going to start to tear into his Fusiliers. So I would say that was an honorable sacrifice of my militia units there. That's typically how you'll see them used in multiplayer. Let's take a look down my line. Again, another thing about Napoleon that's awesome is the visuals. Look at the smoke effects. I really hope this is a game that they come back and revisit in the future. So goddamn beautiful. And yeah, this, when you saw that sign that says you've used all your ammunition, that means you've used your units very, very well. A skirmisher unit, having used, expended all of its ammo, means it's gotten a lot of kills. And now I'm going to decide, well, instead of standing around, I'm going to use it to tie down these fusiliers and then reposition and attack. My own infantry here went in for a charge against the fusilier of the line, almost destroyed them, but now Old Guard are coming in to reinforce. This is a high value unit that I know I have to keep at bay, so my Cazadores here are going to be used to blunt their assault, and then we're going to continue to pull back, reform, and fire away. On the left flank, we've made great strides, tons of units. I did make a strategic mistake on this front, and that was to use both of my cavalry units. Traditionally, you want to keep at least 1 or 2 cavalry units for when the enemy is retreating, not necessarily to break a line with an all-out charge, but to kill the units and punish them on the retreat. You saw most of my cavalry were killed here on the charge. You want to, the most effective use of cavalry, especially in Napoleon, is going to be to hit the enemy on their retreat on their way out. And so cavalry stay alive and do a lot more damage. Over on the right hand side of the battle, what's been happening is my ally has been bunkered up in the hill, in the town, and is taking a lot of artillery fire, starting to lose some men. Meanwhile, Prussia is just sitting pretty, firing away at him. Prussia does make a bit of an outing here to try and reinforce his ally, land a big strike, but it is not well supported. My ally's doing a good job with his light foot here to just kill the enemy as they start to pull through the center. Let's watch it from the perspective of these Russian troops. Again, another thing about Napoleon is planning out your moves. If you're going to charge through a breach like this, I would have put skirmishers on the banks to give you suppressing fire, covering fire. And yeah, now look, our cavalry is coming in, forcing him into the square, and we have infantry to support. And then he's pulling out his cuirassiers without having done anything. So this is a pretty big mismanagement of the Prussian forces, and they're going to pay dearly for it. I would have musketeers, waiting on either bank to punish a cavalry charge like this. Seems they didn't do that. Howitzers and other artillery should be fully trained on this position to, again, punish forces of Great Britain. And there is a juicy target here. Actually, I would retrain howitzers maybe on this position. You get a lot done here. But anyways, the slaughter continues on this front. Some allies doing a good job of supporting. Looks like the enemy, France on this side, is getting a bit desperate. They decide to charge in with their forces. Chevaux Léger charging into my guys with a general in support. So I brought my own general in to shore up my forces. I have units positioned here with the, just fields littered with French bodies, and they've been doing work. Old Guard got committed here, so what I did is I pulled back with one of my Portuguese units, brought in another infantry to shoot them in the back, and then over here I have a square to hold the enemy cavalry at bay, and then my skirmishers have pulled back to pre-deployed stakes that I had here, and now they are going to be able to taunt the cavalry from this position. God, I freaking love Napoleon. Look at this. Is this not beautiful? Glorious stuff. And now actually my ally comes in with some dragoons, I guess just to tie down the enemy cav. Perhaps not necessarily the best of engagements because he's going to lose troops, and I had it pretty much under control. On the left flank, my opponent is in full out retreat. He decides to accept the situation, charges in with the Old Guard, and I'm just going to accept the melee engagement. And oh my god, look how much punishing fire was put on Maréchal at that point. So yeah, the French are in full retreat. No real hope left. I don't think they have any lingering troops. So now here comes and I can pop on the map. Here comes the great sweeping maneuver of my forces. I do pull in my general as well because he decides he wants a little bit of glory. And he's going to actually be targeting the enemy general who tried to get out of the action. And so this is a prime target for me to seek glory and honor. However, my opponent does realize that this is a juicy chance for his Chevaux Légers to redeem themselves perhaps with a general kill. So I actually got a little bit overzealous here. I do kill or at least force the enemy general away. My ally sends in some light dragoons, thankfully. That's going to shore up my cavalry, and we do kill the enemy general at that point. But my guys are quickly losing men down to 9, 8, 7, 6. Yeah, I'm losing men quickly. But finally, the Chevalier shatter, and with 6 men left out of 24 in my unit, my general's still alive. He got his glory, cost a couple of his bodyguards, his friends, his life, but so be it. And then he's going to see off the rest of the Chevalier before reforming and bringing about the entire Portuguese force. And look at the chaos left behind on these battle lines. My God, it was a massacre. On this front, my ally did a good job of, plugging this gap, forcing the enemy away. And see, this is how you do a proper river crossing. Position skirmishers and rifles at the river's edge, suppress the enemy, and then start moving forward with infantry columns, cavalry, and support. I'm going to also lend some support by bringing forward a huge mass of skirmishers along the riverbank as well. Go ahead and suppress the map just so we can get a nice cinematic. But yeah, I'm going to bring in and help reinforce this river crossing. So that's this engagement. Slowly moving forward with the footmen. And then on this front, we have a lot of light foot, Great Britain foot. Yeah, just basic units up here, basic redcoats. They're formed up in pretty tight, compact formations. I would not necessarily recommend that when you're under artillery fire. Form up in a couple of thin ranks and then push forward, I think. But we have plenty of men to spare. More reinforcements streaming in, light dragoons, and lots of basic footmen. General safely in the back. And now we're going to be able to close in on the last of the engagements. The Prussian player here, not quite sure what he wants to do with his troops, it seems. From the perspective of the artillery set, 7-pound howitzer, it's been firing away. You can see the tinge of red in the distance. Never really understood why the British, especially during the wars in America, or in North America, why they kept the standard red coat. You'd think for engagements like this, that makes it very easy to target your troops. But of course, irregulars wouldn't have it. Rangers would have switched up uniforms and whatnot. So there's that. It looks like we have had a little bit... Oh, actually, no. So I saw that there were units that were destroyed here, artillery pieces, but it looks like that wasn't even our doing. That was the unfortunate placement of the 12-pounder that's shot his own men. So yeah, we were able to destroy artillery pieces just by psyching out the enemy, I guess you could say. And now here comes the big approach of the British lines. Sileits and Scheitzen here. Yeah, these skirmishers would do best to retreat back to the Prussian main line. And actually, the entire line seems to be pulling back, or at least just slightly. They're going to turn about to try and get some initial firing off. And our infantry is still out of range, targeting these Sileits and Scheitzen. But yeah, they're trying to reform. Lots of units trying to pull back, but he should be doing it definitely at the double. Our units moving up here are going to start to form a massive line. On the far left, I'm wheeling about with 2 of my infantry blocks. So just as his main line moves forward, men abreast, I'm moving forward in a rough column, wheeling about in tight order, and I'm going to try and push on this flank. I also have some of my own skirmishers going to be pushing forward to help put some suppressing fire on the hill. And this is going to be a complete envelopment as we start to push and put pressure on this side. The British force on the right side, ooh, takes a pretty big volley, but no damage. But this force on the right is also going to be moving forward here pretty soon. Good God, I would not want to be one of those Prussian soldiers up there. Those bushes and trees are not going to protect them. And just as he tries to wheel around with the musketeer force there, I mean, I have reinforcements quickly moving up, a militia force trying to get around the flank. Immediately I recognize the immediacy of this threat, and so I'm going to, abort the forced march around the flank, reposition, and get a nice volley into these musketeers, which the British foot here seems to be doing eagerly. Not sure how these Prussians are keeping it together. I guess they don't see my troops on the other side of the bush. This is going to be a rude awakening for them as they continue to take fire from all of our lines. And I have actually a really cool action here. One of my infantry columns decide to push up in column, led by its officer. And what this does is it actually prompts an entire assault, a charge on all fronts. So now my column is continuing to push forward. It charged through the gap. The British forces, or forces of Great Britain, are going to charge alongside my units. And so here we go, penetrating with the mobility of a column. Just completely surrounding these light forces, and now we can see the front lines here that would have liked to hold out a little bit longer are going to be greeted by a full-on bayonet charge. Artillery is going to try and get final couple volleys. It looks like some grape shot is going to get off, some canister shot. Oh, it's doing a fair amount of damage, but I don't think they're going to be able to get it off. Yep, bayonet to the back. So all down the line, we're charging through here. Even a charge, infantry charge into an infantry square. Super glorious as always. So I always find those little moments are really interesting. The charge of my column prompted an entire British bayonet charge. That was really cool. And now we're just going to be mopping up the enemy forces. Not much left. A couple of the gun crews here trying to desperately get their last couple volleys. If I were them, I would... Ooh! Oh man, I would ditch that gun, but they did do a lot of damage to our foot. Trying to save this musketeer force, but yeah, it's not gonna amount to much. I pulled my column formation into the back and then formed it into square, which was really nice because take a look at this. I'm shooting at the general, slaughtered the general. I'm shooting at the back of this musketeer force, and so by pushing a unit into the back and forming it into square, I was actually able to shoot, penetrate into the line and shoot all of the enemy's backs in 3 directions all at once. So that was kind of a cool little trick that I pulled off there. Targeting this Prussian musketeer force as well. So that was epic and fortuitous. And oftentimes charges like that we pulled off, yes, the initial enemy volleys are bloody, but a sweeping charge like that is much more cost effective than staying back and shooting it out. I mean, take a look at this. Look at this. All these casualties are on the Prussian side. So that was a very well executed final charge to wrap things up. The final kills at the end. Looks like myself and my ally had the numerical advantage and just kicked butt when it came to infantry kills. 1,800 on my own part, 1,500 for my ally. But nonetheless, the enemy still took a chunk. More than half of our troops went down. 1,100 and 1,000 troops killed by the French force. Just interested in, oh my god, this is my Cazadores force that I was telling you about that used up all its ammo. 246 kills, infantry went with 207, 182, 137. So all of my work here being done by my skirmishers. That was really impressive. Cavalry not doing too well. 2, 12, and 24, but they were used mostly for breaking enemy formations and opening up opportunities. Alternatively, I could have kept them for when France was retreating, and they would have gotten a lot of kills. So it's kind of a bit of an improvement I could have had. But anyways, that's it for this battle. I do hope you guys enjoyed. Stay tuned for more. Peace out.